let's take the PC. If you are really, really well scripted in computer specs, and if you are willing to, if you have enough money to afford new parts for your computer, you know how to mod stuff, you know how to modify your computer, you know how to build up enough, you know, technical prowess to run the newer games and keep a computer going for 5, 6 years, maybe even getting up to almost 10 years, depending on how good you are, I think the PC is definitely the way to go. And like I said, some games are way easier to play. If you like RTSs, PC, hands down. I would never opt for a real-time strategy playing it on a console over a PC, with the exception of Brutal Legend. That's because Brutal Legend is so different. You know, I mean, it's one of those things. That same thing goes for first-person shooters. I mean, controllers aren't bad when it comes to first-person shooters, but I mean, keyboard and a mouse when it comes to first-person shooters is definitely the way to go. So again, it depends. So I mean, if that's your speed, I say the PC. But let's talk about the other consoles real quick, both handheld and the home consoles. I'll talk about the home consoles first, and I'll talk with the one that I have the most issues with. Personally, from a personal perspective, it's the PS3. Okay, and I'll say this for a start. I don't hate the PS3. I don't hate it. I just think it's wasted technology. Is probably the best way I can really put it. I think the main issue with the PS3 is nobody but really Sony and a handful of other developers are really taking advantage of what the thing is capable of, because as far as the three main consoles go, the PS3 is the one that is the most capable of outperforming the other two when it comes to graphics, when it comes to sound, when it comes to the length of games in general. The PS3 is most certainly the one that's got the other two, you know, in a bind. I mean, it wins out hands down. But the biggest issue I have with the PS3 is its lack of games, and it still has a lack of games. And I shouldn't say lack of games. It's got games. It just isn't enough games. It still only has a few exclusives that are worth playing, and even those exclusives, some of them still don't take advantage of what the PS3 is capable of, and the Xbox 360 just has more games in general. And when it comes to me and what I need and what I want in a console, the most important thing to me is does this console have a wide variety of games that I want to play? The PS3 is lacking in that department when it comes to at least disc-based games, but I'll get to that in a second. And I have two other issues with the PS3. One is a pet peeve, and one is just me playing the 360's online first. The first thing is that thing updates more times than I care to count. And it takes forever. Yeah, the 360 updates. The Wii updates. But the Wii does it far less than the other two, and the 360, when it does update, it usually takes maybe 30 seconds max. The longest update I had with the 360 took me 3 minutes, and it was when they got the new dashboard. That was the longest update I ever had to deal with. The PS3, one update I got took me 20 minutes. But that's not even because I had to download. Because, no, there's one bar for download, and then it has to install. It has to do two things separately. Why is that needed? And to be fair, lately the updates have gotten a lot faster on the PS3. Awesome. But they're still so great in number to the point where it drives me a little bit nuts. And my connection's pretty good. I've heard of people taking 3 hours to update their PS3s. There's no excuse for that. That's ridiculous. And in addition, the online. With me, I am an online gamer. I'll say this right now. I really am. The PS3's online isn't really bad. It's just not as good as the 360's. Yeah, granted, you have to pay for the 360s, but it's $50 for a year. I'm sorry, that's a bargain. And the PS3, it's got two main issues. Number one, communication is a joke on the PS3's online as it stands. Yeah, you can contact people, yeah, you can chat with people, but you can't chat with people during gameplay, at least not in private chat. 360, you have party chats. With the PS3, even connecting to games, finding games, it takes a lot longer than it does on the 360. I mean, yeah, once you're in a game, it runs fine. Lag, you know, maybe occasionally, but not any more than the 360 does. You know, I mean, once you're in a game, it's fine, but it's a matter of I can't talk to the people I want to talk to. It's a matter of I can barely talk to people when I'm in a game, and it's a matter of can I even get in a game to begin with, or do I have to host the game every single time? With the 360, I can find a random match relatively easily with most titles. But yeah, to be fair, the online is free, so naturally I wouldn't expect it to be as good as the 360s. It depends. Do you want to pay for a higher quality connection, or do you want to have a not quite as good connection but for free? It depends what you're looking for. I prefer more quality, so I pay the $50 to play on my 360. That's just my choice. But a few good things I will say about the PS3. There's one thing about the PS3 I really, really love, and that's its back catalog of downloadable titles. There are a ton of exclusives just for the PS3 and back catalog PlayStation games that you can download for that thing. I'm thinking of games like Metal Gear Solid, Resident Evil Director's Cut, Silent Hill. I think all the Crash Bandicoot games, at least the ones that were popular, all 3 of the main Spyro games. I mean, it's got a lot of really awesome games. And if you grew up with the PlayStation like I did and you missed any of these, it's going to be something you want to look into. I'm thinking about downloading Silent Hill, because I missed that one and I really would like to play it. And speaking of survival horror games, there's one exclusive for the PS3 that's really outdoes anything I've played on the other 2 consoles, and that is it's called Siren Blood Curse. I'm pretty sure it's a PS3 exclusive. It is probably the best survival horror game I've played since the remake of Resident Evil on the GameCube. And yeah, I'm aware I'm skipping over Resident Evil 4 and 5, but the series got to the point with those 2 that it was more of let's shoot everyone in the head and not really a survival horror game. I'm not saying any of those games are really bad, but I'm saying I wouldn't call them survival horror. That's just me. But Siren Blood Curse definitely is a survival horror game, and it is really good. It's got a few issues, but as far as downloadable games, it's probably one of the best ones ever downloaded. That is the one with the PS3 I really love. It's got a lot of good downloadable titles for it, both new and old titles. So the PSN store is great. So, I mean, that's the PS3. But like I said, as far as actual, disc titles, I really think it's been wasted. I look at the thing, I see all this potential, because it had the potential to be the best thing, but I think Sony poorly executed it. Like, I really, really did think Sony just didn't execute it right. And to be fair, it's gotten better lately, and I think if you're looking for a really powerful console, one that can, run the best games that you want to run, and one that's got a decent catalog of games, and one that's got a lot of good downloadable games, the PS3 is definitely the way to go. And as far as graphics are concerned, as far as space is concerned, and if you're not much of an online gamer, especially a PS3, easily, hands down, it's a good console. It's just not the one I would prefer. Now we have the Wii. Okay, the Wii. It's good. I've seen a lot of people complain about the Wii and its lack of sufficient titles lately. I'll give you that, but I think you guys are missing a lot of good ones that just aren't advertised enough. I think the Wii's got innovation, certainly, with its motion sensing. Where the Wii is lacking is, that's compared to the PS3. It's lacking in processing speed, graphical ability, sound, everything. It is completely minuscule compared to what the PS3 is capable of doing. But what about just having fun playing games? The Wii definitely has the fun aspect over the other 2. The Wii has probably some of the best games of this generation. It has Metroid Prime 3, it has Super Mario Galaxy, it has... Brawl was hit and miss. It has Mad World. Mad World is one of the best games I've played in a while. I mean, it has a lot of really, really good titles. And people say it's a casual system. Yeah, definitely. It is a very casual system. It's also the most user-friendly, which is why I think it's casual. Whereas, you compare to the PS3 and the PC, to be perfectly realistic, are probably the most un-user-friendly. The PS3 is not a casual console right now. It really isn't. It's definitely for really hardcore gamers, because a casual gamer trying to play a PS3, I think a casual player would definitely prefer a Wii. That's just my thoughts. Like I said, good motion sensing. I think the Wii's just lacking in... First of all, it has a retarded amount of shovelware. compared to the other two main consoles. I mean, really. The shovelware on the Wii is absolutely absurd, and any game that isn't made by Nintendo is really questionable in terms of, gee, is this game going to work right? Because the motion sensing is such a new concept. Nintendo had it nailed down, that's because they made the damn console. But then you have other companies trying to do it. I mean, Sega did a decent job, I thought, and, you know, and Ubisoft with No More Heroes, I think that's who made No More Heroes, I could be wrong. But whoever the hell did No More Heroes, I mean, they did good. But, I mean, then you have stuff like, actually, I think I sold all the crappy Wii games, but I mean, there's a lot of games released for the Wii that just aren't good, like Red Steel. I heard horrible things about Red Steel.